Hey there, so today we have another review. This is a beer from Ranke. This is Ranke XX Bitter. So this is an old money beer, as in like old school, old fashioned, black and white movie kind of thing reference. But I mean, it's only 10 years old, but like it feels like that in craft beer. So I actually reviewed this as like episode like 341, and we're up to 3,000 something. So it's actually pretty crazy. This was reviewed about 8 years ago. I'll post a link back in the old house with the bar downstairs in the basement. Ranke XX Bitter. They use whole cone hops. It is Best by. Seems pretty fresh. I can't see the date, but a single digit. Oh, okay. So I think, wow, I believe this was bottled about 2 months ago, if that's possible. And they put a Best By about 2 years out to about 2024. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Okay, 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 okay. All right, let's just do that. All right. So we can see how lively this beer was carved. Get someone to wipe that. Let's get someone to wipe that down real quick. Anyway, you guys can hear me because I thankfully have a mic now that's attached and wireless, so I'm not like jumping around. Um, this beer is supposedly like one of the most bitter beers you can make out of Belgium. Obviously, there are craft beers now, or like craft, like American-inspired craft breweries, but I assume this beer is also inspired by craft. But this is like a, older recipe, obviously. This is their take on Belgian-style blonde ale. The tiny beer like this, like not tiny, like 6%. It's going up to like 50, 60 IBUs. I can smell the beer obviously, but let's dig into it. The beer looks similar. It's actually quite cloudy. I guess OG hazy. Comes in a sort of like a light to medium gold color with this little bit of like almost like greenish hue. Definitely a lot of chunkies in there. I don't know if it's hop particulate or yeast, but it's quite a hazy beer. I could have stored it standing up, but I actually stored it on side, so everything's mixed in. So everything's in there. Beautiful white head on there, tight bubbles on the nose. Wow, yeah. The big thing for me is I get sweetness. There's this kind of like orange blossom honey, Tupelo honey kind of thing going on. Honeyed sweetness, straw, grass, sugar coated like crackers and biscuits, almost like cereal, like sugar coated cereal. A little bit of that. There's a little bit of this kind of like, I won't say, is it Brett? Like, I don't know if it's Brett. Yeah, I don't know if it's Brett, but it's definitely not phenolic. It's not that like strong phenolic kind of Belgian expression. It has the hoppiness is definitely not American. It doesn't explode of like grapefruit and citrus and pine. It's more subtle. It's more grass with some sweeter kind of like almost like sweet mint. Um, yeah, it's this like green sweet thing going on. Not quite minty like menthol, but like sweetness, like yes. Oh, there you go. Regular is it spearmint? Spearmint, the sweet mint kind of aroma to it. Get a little bit of that kind of like breadiness underneath, and then I want to say this is some Belgian character, and it's like almost Brett forward. I don't believe this is a Brett beer, but it almost has that kind of like aqueous pond thing. So cheers. Oh yeah, noticeably better beer. Hits up front with this kind of like almost like aspirin kind of bitterness, but obviously not as intense as that. Mm, yeah, it obviously tastes nothing like that specific, or in general doesn't taste like heady topper, but it has its kind of initial tack like, hey man, this is going to be bitter, and it just hits you up front, it hits you on sides, like it's noticeably um, there, the bitterness. Quite watery. Like there's a nice kind of like water profile, sort of dries away quite nicely. For 60%, really low amount of malt coming in, and the bitterness just rides, man. It hits quarter of the palate in. You sort of introduce a little bit of malt sweetness, but then boom, that bitterness hits in, and it rides all the way out. It is a firm bitterness that has this kind of just like earthy tone to it. So like on the nose, we're getting sort of more kind of a green, grassy, herbal. Here now we're getting a little bit more base tone, a little bit more soily, a little bit more like hinting towards a little bit Pacific Northwest kind of thing going on, soily, dirt, brown flavors, that kind of thing on it. Almost leaning towards like a little bit chemically kind of like bitterness, where it's like again aspirin. So this is definitely not for people that don't like bitterness. I guess there's a reason why they call it Darwin XX bitter. There's really not too much malt to support it. There's a little bit of like light biscuity, crackery thing going on. As you wait more, it has a little bit more of this kind of, it leans towards a little bit fruity, so a little bit of like grapefruit pith or like a bitter, it's bitter herbal. It's not like, fruits are generally not that bitter. Maybe a little bit of like dried bitterness of like an apple or pear or something, but it's an herbal bitterness and soily bitterness that sort of leans on the back end. Now as I wait more, it's more herbal, almost like dried herbs, roots, soil. Really nice carb on it, really nice head, a little bit of fluffiness, but man, I'm surprised I liked this that much 8 years ago. This is a bitter, bitter beer. Yeah. I must have really liked it back in the day. I think I gave it 90. Actually, well, I know I gave it 94 back in the day. I don't know if I like it that much. I wish there's just another layer. I find, I mean, I have a little cold, but like, it's very drinkable, and I appreciate the bitterness, and I'm enjoying the bitterness. It's nice to actually have something quite this bitter, but I wish just maybe there's a little bit more malt to it. But then it's like a Belgian beer, so it's really nice and dried and attenuated out. Maybe if it's just pulled back a little less bitter, and there's maybe more kind of a Belgian characteristic or like ester phenolics kind of going on. Just something is like, it's pretty fresh, so I don't think there's anything off of the bottle. It's just like there's just like one element missing. I find that's like really would push it to like, oh man, like this all makes sense to me. Not that I'm like again against the bitterness. It is solidly bitter. If you don't like bitter beers, you don't like the most tongue scraping double IPAs and IPAs, you're not gonna like this. This is definitely out of place. Like this is like we're not even talking about Two Hearted. We're going like I think like one of the more bitter beers you can commercially find would be like maybe Sierra Nevada Torpedo or Stone Arrogant Bastard. Like if you're looking for that kind of bitterness, like full on. Again, they don't really make too many beers in the American market that are like pushing that kind of IBU war that we used to have in the 2010s or whatever, right? 2010s. Okay, just trying to age myself. Like, what years are we in? The 2010s or the early 2000s or the late 2000s, blah blah. Certainly bitter. It's the very bitter beer, full bitterness. I mean, for lean, tiny beer like this, you're going to get a big punch of bitterness, but it drinks quite nice. I like it. I like it. It's just, again, missing an element, but I'm going to give this beer a solid 91. That is the Ranke XX Bitter. Very tasty. Really nice attenuation. I like the hoppiness. It throws a little bit of like this Belgian blonde thing out there, and then just like, hey, what if we just like bitter the hell out of it? And also like, obviously I assume there's some kind of like, late hop additions, whirlpool additions possibly that give it a little bit of aromatic to it. It definitely is Belgian, but again, it's like, it's just, it's this Belgian is elegance, like classical music, but there's someone through like some like guitar in it or something, right? Just like a wrench in there. Where it's like, all right, let's just bitter it all the way for the sake of it, and it makes it for a fun beer. Definitely for the American palate, because this bitterness I find would be completely out of whack and more traditional Belgian brewing, but very tasty. 91 Donka XX Bitter, old money beer. Cheers later.